All right, so I found the holy grail of making consistent and sustainable content on social media. I've been posting 3 to 7 videos a day on social media for over 3 years now, only missing 2 days in that time frame. And in this video, I'm gonna be giving you guys the exact recipe I use to make unlimited content so you can stay consistent for the long haul. So when I started posting content August 2021, at that time, I was just posting random shit. I had absolutely zero structure to my content. And I was getting views, but back then it was like substantially easier to go viral. Anybody could get hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok. Today, the landscape is quite a bit different, and it's not even really about views anymore. It's about having a brand, but also getting as many views as you can within that brand, with the brand being the primary focus of what you're trying to do. The brand is the primary function of leveraging social media. So I was getting all these views, but I didn't necessarily have a brand because I was talking about so much different bullshit at that time. And then I finally stumbled across a framework that made so much sense to me and gave me clarity. And now today I pretty much only follow the framework, and that framework is you should have 3 pillars to content creation, 3 pillars to your brand. So as a real life example, these are my 3 pillars, right? So number 1, I talk about real estate, then I talk about realtors, and then I talk about self-actualization. And then within those 3 pillars, I'll have a bunch of subtopics. So real estate subtopics might look like this. Well, mine are property tours, investing, and current events. Realtors are social media, mindset, current events. Self-actualization, which by the way is basically the process of becoming the best possible version of yourself, those are vices, gym, consistency, and education. So once you figure out what your core pillars are, then you can figure out what your subtopics are. Write those down. I use Apple Notes. You could use Notion or any one of these kind of external brain apps. And then anytime you're struggling to come up with content ideas, you just refer back to your 3 pillars and then the subtopics within those pillars. Now, here's the thing with this pillar thing, because I know a lot of you probably watch this being like, I have no idea what my 3 pillars are. Neither did I, right? For the first 2 years, I just basically just talked about random shit. But then I had a big enough sample size to go back and see what am I typically talking about the most and what is the best performing content. And then it was super easy for me to differentiate and be like, oh, this is what people like to consume the most of my content, and these are the things that I tend to talk about the most. Therefore, these things are my brand. And even in the beginning, I realistically only had 2 pillars. I had real estate, and then I had self-actualization, because I hadn't actually sold enough real estate or seen enough success in real estate to have the authority to talk about realtors. It was only after all these realtors started reaching out to me being like, hey bro, what are you doing? How are you doing that? How did you sell this many homes doing this? I then realized that people actually wanted to hear what I had to say on this topic. Now, pillars are basically just interests. What are you most interested in? And I'm willing to bet that you have more than just one interest. Now, if you want to supercharge your brand, and I'm not talking about getting more followers, I'm talking about having more authority and more influence. I'm talking about strengthening your brand, because you can have a super strong brand with 3,000 followers, and you can also have millions of followers and 0 brand. If you want to supercharge your brand growth, what you're going to do is you're going to make connections across these 3 pillars. So as an example, I'll talk about how not drinking and smoking, which is vices in the self-actualization pillar, I'll talk about not doing either of those things, and I'll connect it to realtor and how it makes you a better realtor. I'll say, this is how it makes you more consistent and improves your mindset, and I connect those subtopics across those pillars. I have another analogy that I like to use from time to time, which is basically how the Canadian economy is like a guy who's used too much steroids. And the reason why this analogy works as a brand building thing, I guess, is because I would only know what taking steroids is like if I actually researched taking steroids. Therefore, I'm connecting the subtopic gym in self-actualization to current events in real estate. And the reason why this builds brands super fast is that it's mathematically super improbable that anyone else is gonna have the exact same interest as you and then also post it on social media. And then have the same subtopics within those interests. And then you add a whole nother layer of mathematical improbability by connecting those interests across each other. So it's like this, right? If I have two numbers, I can only make two numbers, right? Let's just say I have the number 23. It could be 23 or it could be 32, and that's it. If I have the numbers 1, 2, and 3, it could be 3, 2, 1, it could be 1, 3, 2, it could be 3, 1, 2. The amount of potential numbers that I have exponentially increase when I add another number in there. And then if I add a fourth number, the different sequences that I can make with four numbers is like nearly infinite. And the reason why I'm using these numbers to explain this to you, again, is just to show you how extremely improbable it is that someone is going to share the exact same perspective as you on this niche subtopic. And then if you were to connect them, it usually requires some type of personal experience, something that's happened to you in your life that you've actually been through to actually form an analogy or make those connections across those subtopics in those pillars. And there's simply no way that somebody's gonna have the same personal experience. Somebody may have the same pillar as you, but they're probably not gonna have all three of the same subtopics. And then is somebody gonna have, let's just say they have both the same pillars as you. Okay. Are they gonna have the exact same subtopics as you in both of those pillars? Now, are they gonna connect those same two subtopics the exact same way that you're going to connect them? It's like nearly impossible. And then when you do this, it makes you super, super unique and one of a kind. When you make these videos, it will be the first time that somebody is hearing this perspective on that thing. And people always remember the first time that somebody plants a new idea in their head. And this allows you to own real estate in other people's minds. Like as an example, you can't even say the word patience without even thinking about Gary Vee, because he was basically the first person to come out on social media and harp on patience, 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 screw your parents, more patience. So what can you do to actually start implementing this into your business? If you can't think of the three pillars right now, don't worry about it, just start putting out content. Talk about anything that interests you on any given day. And over 3 months, 6 months, you will start to realize that there are certain topics that you talk about that perform better. And naturally, because they perform better, you'll start putting out more content like that content. And 6 months down the road, you'll look back and you'll say, hey, this is my brand. This is what people like to consume from me. And the overarching topic of those videos will become your pillar. Now, if you want help with your social media, I have an academy where I teach realtors and other businesses how they can leverage social media within their business. Click the link down below. And I just recently put out a video on how important it is to implement social media in your business called The Future of Real Estate Agents. Make sure you watch that right here. I'm that Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you. Peace.